Hey YouTube, before we go over my first Fossil Cup team, which is a very strong team despite the double ground weakness, we're going to talk 2 minutes here about movesets because I didn't even change my movesets. I just had Dynamic Punch and Icy Wind on Poliwrath, and I had Thunder Punch and Shadow Ball on Lucario. And Foul Stinger and Wild Charge are the main moves on Togedemaru, so that doesn't matter too much. And then after I did these battles, I did well with the team. Didn't think much of it. I went to PV Poke and I was doing because I go to PV Poke to look at how many turns does it take to get to these moves. And so I was there and I was looking up Togedemaru. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you go to Poliwrath. And Poliwrath is recommending Icy Wind and Scald. And I remember going against a couple of opponents that had Scald on their Poliwrath. I'm like, why do you have Scald on your Poliwrath? That makes no sense from this meta. And it even makes less sense when you look at the stats and the counts. Dynamic Punch is only 8-7, 8-7 to get to, so 16-14, 16-14 with counter. And Scald is 18-16, 16-18. And the meta is Water, Steel, and Rock. And Dynamic Punch hits super effective against Rock and Steel, while Scald only hits super effective against Rock and normal Steel. And then on pure waters, water is resistant on water and Dynamic Punch is neutral. So I don't know why in any scenario you would be running in the Fossil Cup rankings, you would be running Poliwrath. So the Scald makes absolutely no sense to me here. So if you're going to run Poliwrath, don't run it with Scald, run it with Dynamic Punch. There's even an argument for like Power Up Punch in some scenarios. But I think Dynamic Punch did come in huge for these matchups. And then you go to Lucario. And if you have not used Lucario, this Pokemon can barely take fast moves. 145 attack, 95 defense, 110 stamina, 1532 overall. When I say you can barely take fast moves, I'm not even joking much. This thing is so glassy. And the move Force Palm must, that energy and damage per turn combo is insane. Thunder Punch a must because it is, or you know what, you could actually use Blaze Kick too. Thunder Punch and Blaze Kick are both clones. I think Thunder Punch has more play in this current meta. You can argue you want Blaze Kick for the steals, and Rock, no, not Rock, but Steel. But I will argue that you want Thunder Punch for the many more water you will see as opposed to Steals. Plus you have Force Palm for Steel, right? So I think Thunder Punch is a must. I saw a couple with Blaze Kick, but then the recommended moveset is Shadow Ball. And I'm like, okay, I had it on mine, so that was great. But it's the same scenario here. You have a Shadow Ball with 55 energy for 100 damage, 1.82, 6-5, 6-5. So 6 is 18, 15, 18, 15. And then Close Combat is 45 for 120, 2.67, 5-4, 5-4. So 15, 12, 15, 12. And it's like, yeah, like this Pokemon can barely live anything. Why would you not go with Close Combat? And I was trying to think like the meta. I'm like, okay, maybe there's like more ghosts in this meta, but there's like Jellicent and you can throw Thunder Punch there. So that ghost thought process doesn't make sense. And then again, if you're barely getting to moves anyways, why would you not want to go with the harder hitting stab move if you're only going to get one move off anyways? Especially with that, a lot of these Pokemon, Fairthorn, a lot of things are weak to fighting. Again, the Force Palm does so much raw damage that you barely need that Close Combat anyways, but like, there's so many things that it hits neutral to super effective against. So I would recommend running Close Combat on Lucario if you're going to run this Pokemon. So that's just kind of my quick 101 on movesets of why you can't just kind of follow blindly. Like I would just see the movesets, look at the counts, look at the meta, and figure out like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense here. Anyways, let's go to the team. Double weak to ground, Togedemaru, Lucario. If you see ground, you go straight into Poliwrath. You have Double Fighter in the back. Lucario feels like the better safe swap. The Force Palm does so much damage and you have that Thunder Punch coverage. Poliwrath is better when you see a ground or something that you're very weak to on the lead to swap into. But a good lead here in Jellicent. They get out into Credilli. Why did I go here instead of my Lucario? I'm an idiot. In short, like go Lucario here. Your Steel, you would resist every single move as opposed to coming in with a water Pokemon where you take super effective with a grass. So obviously Lucario has been better. I did shield. I'm going to try and keep switch here. Commit to the shield. And just keep switch. So shield, farm down, counter. These counter users, force palm users are very strong in this meta, I found. Jellicent comes back in. I know I can lower its attack a couple times and counter dynamic punch, icy wind combo will chip enough. But they give up switch here, which was mind-boggling to me. So they gave up switch, come in here, throw a move. That move is a resisted hydro. So I get off this. Now I can align Token. So I'll instant swap because I'm not going to get farmed down. As you can see, the force pumps are absolutely ripping this thing up. Yes, Hydro Cannon's going to one-shot because Lucario can't take anything. Again, you probably want to start saving some shields for Lucario. But taking it to the deep yellow, making a kind of a mistake there going to that, but 2 allows me to get to the Fell Stinger. And Fell Stinger is enough from this range to take out a Swampert. And now it's a race. Can I live a Shadow Ball is the question. I'm at a Wild Charge. Wild Charge will one-shot. I need to live a move here. I do live a move with a couple HP. That's all you need. Togedemaru, definitely not the glassiest Pokemon on this team. That's Lucario by far. Wild Charge for the win. So a lot uglier than it needed to be. Jellicent. I thought someone I'm like, did a content creator put out a team ready? Because this was actually the 3rd team I used. Hey, look at that. That's how you come into a Pokemon properly. It could still have Thunder, so I'll probably shield anyways. Okay, do I not shield? Just power up. So I cannot take another move, so I'm going to have to throw as this one does not take out, but come out with energy. The Force Palm does an insane amount of damage. That is how you play this matchup better. And I'll still have energy coming out. And in fact, I make a mistake here. I'm like, oh, I'm only going to get to 1 move here. I'm going to throw the Shadow Ball. But I would have got to 2 Thunder Punches here. So I should have actually gotten 2 Thunder Punches. So I just find that Thunder Punch gives you so much coverage that you don't really need the Shadow Ball. So coming Togedemaru, they've already shielded once, so I will just shield right back. Watching for a catch. We'll have to see what's in the back here. The catch tries to be on Steelix, Thunderfang Steelix. So Thunderfang with a Psychic Fangs combo here is going to make this actually a lot closer than I would like it. But very thankfully, they do let this move go, which chips it low enough that I can almost counter down, get them pretty low, and come in here and just commit to the Thunder Shock down. And they don't throw. I guess they're going for an Earthquake, but now I've got almost 2 Wild Charge for the Jellicent coming out here. So they let the first one go. I'm loaded. Makes sense. Lucario, okay. Force Palm is going to delete Togedemaru. I'm half steel, so I'm going to instant swap Poliwrath, right? So there is your... And I bait like an idiot here. Yeah, okay. So 2 things. 1, there is your... You lose the lead. Although Lucario is a better overall safe swap, I would much rather just go Poliwrath in a bad matchup, which is why I did that. 2, I bait. Never bait. How long have you been watching this channel? How long have you been doing these videos? How many years have you been saying never bait? Never bait. Could have landed Dynamic Punch to take switch there. I do end up grabbing 1 shield, which is okay. At this point, I imagine that I'm coming Togedemaru just to sacrifice it and trying to shield Lucario through this. Nope. What am I doing? Oh, thinking I can get to a Wild Charge. Okay. I'm still going to take a shield advantage for Lucario. It's just that I'm so close to Wild Charge. I'm going to grab his shield back there and then shield up here and come out with the energy on Lucario. And they do Blaze Kick and they top left if I remember. Yeah, I guess I'm loaded with energy into something that is weak to either fighter or something there. Ground, have to come Poliwrath again. Double weak to ground. This is where it gets a little tricky. They do have Fairthorn. Now, because I have super effective counters, I can take it in the 2v1 shield here. So I'm going to farm up. And they, if I remember, let this go. And it's kind of the best case scenario here where they come back in with the Poliwrath. Not Poliwrath, sorry. The Gastrodon, if I remember. Yeah, so they come back in with a Gastrodon. I'm just going Icy Wind, hoping that they shield and I can grab 1 shield. They do decide to let it go. It's always risky, unless you have a second ground here and knowing that Togedemaru is dead, that you can just 2v shield whatever's in the back here. But it is a Cordelia, and if you do not know what I have in the back, that's a very risky play to keep 1 Pokemon alive with 2 shields. And this is the exact scenario why you have a super effective Force Palm coming at you with an insane amount of super effective damage. Rock Tomb is resisted, and I will Force Palm my way down here and come out with some energy to just basically have back-to-back Thunder Punches. So I never like that strategy. I understand in certain scenarios, and people are going to be like, don't you always say like grab a shield in the mid game if you're going to lose and then try and 2v1 sweep in the back? Yes, but that's a different 2v1 sweep scenario than it is in a limited meta with limited Pokemon that can beat you. I'll explain that more later. So poliwrath, grabbed one shield. See if I shield up a potential dynamic punch here. I do. It is just a Scald. Again, weird to have that Scald. They do get the attack lower, which is unfortunate. That attack lower, I think, lets them live this. Yeah, so they live by 1 HP thanks to that lowering of attack. So Scald, even though resisted, actually coming into play there. They did lower my attack enough to get another move off and lower my attack for a second time. So now my attack is 2 times lowered for Steelix. Can I get off a move? I can. 2 times lowered. Going to go for the super effective move. They do shield. I'm going to go down just so I don't switch lock myself. I know I could take one move unless it's an Earthquake, but that's too slow, too quick to an Earthquake. But yeah, Psychic Fang's neutral. Look how much that damage that does. I'm going to have to shield this up. Maybe try to commit to the farm down, but 2 times lower defense is going to be very tricky to farm down here. Yeah, so I have to throw, or else they're going to Thunder Fang me out. I've got like no health left, and what's in the back? Fortress, so this thing's too bulky. No point of even throwing a Wild Charge. One Wild Charge will not take this Pokemon out. Sand Tomb will take me out here. Fairthorn. I'll probably come Lucario. Yeah, so we both come Lucario for some reason. I thought that, well, I guess they have no move to throw against Steel, so it makes sense that they also bailed. But I also really have no move to throw against Steel, so I have 2 fighters in the back. Going to... See, this is one that I'll let go 2v1. But Poliwrath is, like, bulky enough. I mean, I could get hit with a flyer. I did see 1 Mantine. Not a lot of flyers in this meta. But I wish I can explain it better why sometimes you have to go 2v1 shields and other times it's dumb to just save 2 shields for the last Pokemon. Anyways, 2 shields here, easy dynamic punch shield, and take out the Poliwrath after. I think it's because there's certain scenarios where I think what the differentiating factor is when you have no other choice versus when you're making that as a conscious decision, and I don't think you should ever make it as a conscious decision to try to shield what's in the back. So another bad lead, I'll go Lucario here. I'll explain that as we'll see what happens here. They are slow on getting out here and eventually come in Lantern, and you cannot let Lucario with Force Palm get that much energy. I'm going to easily flip this matchup now. So I say you should never leave a Pokemon in the back with 2 shields because you do not know, especially if you do not know what the other Pokemon that your opponent has, because you can be hit, especially if it's like a very, very glassy Pokemon like Lucario or something, because you could just be left with a Pokemon that just can fast move, damage you down and stuff like that. To 2 shields mean nothing. So there are certain scenarios that you don't have a choice. So you lose lead, you come in with the switch, you lose switch, you try to grab a shield. Let's say you do grab a shield, you come back in with the lead. There's no point of shielding the lead because you lost the lead. You just have to 2v1 and shield whatever's in the back. That makes sense. Where it doesn't make sense is scenarios like that where it's like kind of evenish matchups and you like take your Pokemon down and then being like, oh, instead of shielding this where I could like shield and save this Pokemon and get a move off, I'm going to try and 2 shield whatever in the back. I just don't think that's like a logical play. I think you have to try to chip and use your other Pokemon and stuff like that as opposed to just 2 shield whatever in the back. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. I'm going to have to do 2 to 3 videos tonight. So Lucario getting a Thunder Punch off. Here comes the second Thunder Punch. This will grab the second shield. Togedemaru is pretty low, and this thing is pretty loaded here. Dynamic Punch would chip to the yellow probably. So I'm going to shield. It is a Dynamic Punch. They'll probably have a second one, which will take me pretty low here. And Scizor comes in. If you're going to run these Pokemon like Scizor and Lucario, unless your goal is to sacrifice them like that, you need to save shields for them. Do Thundershock down there. Doug Trio, Steel Ground, tough lead. Gotta go Poliwrath. So chip a bit. Their own Poliwrath comes in. I cannot imagine I make that same mistake twice. Nope. No bait on this one. Straight Dynamic Punch. Grab a shield or do a ton of chip. I do grab a shield. What am I going to do here? So this is where I'm going to 2v1. Yeah. Well, I may shield to not have to 2v1. We'll see. So I'm going to come Togedemaru. Oh, I get this move up before. Okay. So if they were going to throw a move, I probably shield. But I do get to the Wild Charge first. So now it's a 2v1 with Lucario. Look at those Force Palms. Holy crap. Force Palm taking them super low. And it's a Ferrothorn in the back. Love to see it. Just going to grab this shield here so I can Wild Charge this thing down. The Force Palm's obviously doing an insane amount of damage. Holy smokes, this move is crazy on Lucario. Grab both shields. I can both double shield up here and come out with a Wild Charge to take out what is left of this Ferrothorn. So Lucario, truly a glass cannon. What I say its attack was like 140 something. So very, very attack heavy Pokemon that cannot take much damage. But man, this Force Palm combo with that attack is really insane. Another bad lead. I think this is like 3 or 4 grounds in a row here. Again into the Poliwrath. This time they are not leaving, which again, we are fine with. We want to keep this ground on Poliwrath as long as possible. Shield up a potential move. They get to another move, but that was too fast, so this is just a body slam. I'm guessing they were like weak to fighting in the back or something, because there is really no reason that you stay in this matchup when you have Togedemaru on the front. You try to keep that Gastrodon alignment, and they shield. So again, this is something just telling me like they're very weak in the back to fighters. And they double shield. So I'm going to come Lucario right away. Probably shield this, assuming that this is going to have some play in the back. So shield. And yep, there's your Ferrothorn. So we'll get to the Shadow Ball just as they're going to get to a move here. This will take out. And we will see what's in the back. It is a Registeel. It is a double steel lineup. Tough against a double fighter lineup, which is why they stayed in with their ground. I think this was the subscriber who said, it said good game after. But yeah, this is why they stayed in as long as possible. Because yeah, fighters are going to run through this back line. So double fighting. Togedemaru Wild Charge will just outpace here. Take this out for the win. So yeah, a lot of success with this team. Even though you have to, again, you saw how many grounds I had. I managed to outplay a lot of those. Because, yes, Togedemaru can't really do anything against ground, but you do still have Force Palm that can do a decent amount. If you run close combat, you can maybe just say swap Poliwrath. Hopefully they stay in, grab a shield, chip, and then Force Palm. Lucario maybe chips enough or chip combo down with some moves there. But yeah, Lucario is very fun in this meta. This is one meta that Lucario has always been fun. I saw in my Discord, people were saying like Lucario was like sweeping as a safe swap, sweeping teams. It can get pretty crazy if they don't have an immediate fighter or ground answer to it, just because the Force Palm really, really adds up. So that is a team. If you don't want to be double weak to ground, you can take Togedemaru out and put something else in. If you, like, again, I keep the double fighters. There's not a lot in this meta that is going to punish fighters. Like, I don't think there's any fairies. I'll just kind of bring it back up here as we close the... I don't think there's any fairies on this cup. Oh, there's Tinkatong, but Tinkatong is half steel. I guess there's Klefki too, but oh, there's a Azumarill. Okay. There actually, yeah, I guess there is a Azumarill. It's rock. Oh, water. I was like, what's the third? Water. Steel, rock, and water. So yeah, there is a Azumarill and Tinkaton, but I did 20 out of my 30. I did 10 in Ultra League and 20 in this league with 2 teams, and I did not see one Tinkaton, and I did not see one Azumarill or one Klefki. So definitely not as many fairies. Flying, there is Corviknight, but then the best second is like Corviknight's neutral because it's half steel, and then the next is like Gyarados and Pelipper and Mantine. So you're getting into some more like niche Pokemon there. So this is why I think like the fighters are so highly ranked and have a lot of play, especially when you look at the top Pokemon like Ferrothorn weak, Togedemaru weak, Registeel weak, Berserker weak, and yes, there's some mud boys in here that will cause Lucario problems, but Poliwrath seems to be pretty safe in this meta. Although Jellicent would be tough because counter, Icy Wind, and Dynamic Punch are resisted on Jellicent. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. Let me know. Again, you're either going to get the Beyond the Hype Valley Bolt from the Ultra League, or I'm just going to shoot the third video and just show 2 Fossil Cup teams because the views seem to be there for the Fossil Cup, at least short term. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.